Hello, welcome to Prop Talk again with Chris Call and Mikey Trudel. Oh yeah, there. That's a little louder now, and I like that. Thank you. I was like, I feel like I'm fading away here. Today we have a special guest, Pola Shreiber, who is a good friend of Michael's.
Yeah, I'd say probably one of my best mentors.
Exactly, I think one of our first retirees, if I'm not mistaken. So welcome, Pola. How are you?
Thank you. Doing great. Thanks for
Good
having
to see
me.
you.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, we've crossed paths along the way.
We have, yes.
And I've always been impressed with your work, so we're really happy to have you on.
Thank you very much.
So I just wanted to say that I've seen that your resume is interesting to me because I've noticed that you've done a lot of shows where you didn't necessarily start them, but you've taken them over.
Some.
Yeah. And I thought about that because I realized that about myself, because I noticed that I've done a lot of pilots. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've had any pilots ever picked up.
Really?
Yeah. I think I was like the cooler on pilots, but I've taken over shows. Mm-hmm. So I know I want to get into that with you at some point, because there's something about that, that I think is helpful to other property masters, like when you have to take over a show. Mm-hmm. There's something about that. But before we get into all that, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, where are you from originally?
I am from St. Petersburg, Russia.
Nice.
Very far east-north coast.
Wow. So what was your journey to getting into props? That's very interesting to me.
Well,
yeah, growing up in Russia, was it always your dream?
I know, right?
to work in props.
After I was born, I have decided. Well, no, it was not always my dream. However, I grew up in a family of filmmakers.
Oh, nice.
And my father was a film director, and my mom was a costume designer in St. Petersburg studio. And basically, I grew up on the set.
Wow. That's fascinating. Like what films?
You wouldn't know them. Actually, one you would.
Okay.
George Cukor, co-production with Russia, The Bluebird with Liz Taylor.
Okay. I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it. But...
It's old.
Right.
Not that good. The experience was amazing, especially for my mom. She was one of the costume designers on that film. So, and my father's films were quite well known, but I am a late child. Mm-hmm. And basically his work was done in the 40s and 50s. And he retired after that, 60s. He did lots of documentary films.
And what was his name?
Boris Shreiber.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll be looking that up.
Thank you.
Does the props department out in Russia kind of have a similar duties and stuff as we do here, or is it completely backwards and different?
Completely different. Yeah. In fact, they don't have a prop master. Now they do.
Right.
Now everything has changed, but during the socialist time, there was a prop person, and all of the props were designed by basically an art department, and so they like just
like the English version, the UK.
Probably all across Europe those days. That was the structure. Mm-hmm. Now they didn't have a prop master as a department head or as a creative entity.
Right.
Therefore, I never aimed at that.
Yeah,
post.
It was never on the mind. Right?
It was not.
So when you went to set as a child, did you hang out with your mom?
My mom, my dad, everybody. The studio was small because everything in the big ancient city was quite compact and more consolidated. Right. So ran around the whole studio.
And were they on the same films together?
No, they were not. Different films.
Okay, so you were on both of their sets.
Absolutely.
And how old were you when you were doing this?
All the way through high school.
Wow. And you say you're the oldest of the children?
I am the only of the children.
Oh, you're the only. Okay, so I see.
Both the oldest and the youngest, and all in one.
You're the whole package.
Yes.
That's fun.
And then I
that.
went, after high school, I went to college, which in St. Petersburg, theater and film, and specialized in design for film and theater.
Nice.
And then we were kicked out. And then I found myself in this land.
Okay.
And by strange twist of fate, I ended up at Cal Arts.
Oh.
And I just met somebody in my travels through Europe who knew someone at Cal Arts, and they invited me to come visit the school. I did. And they accepted me right away to the master's program.
Did you finish your degree for theater when you were in Russia? Or?
I finished, but I could not get the diploma because if I were to officially get a diploma because of the education being free,
Right.
they would assign me to a spot in something like Siberia.
Right.
And I would lose my right, and I would have to pay the debt for my education. I would never be able to, because, well, they knew that we were immigrating, and that would be the punishment. So my only way out was not to get my diploma.
Interesting. So when you say you were kicked out, do you want to get into that at all? I mean, I'm very curious, but I don't want to.
We could. I wrote a whole book about it, but
you
sure.
did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, tell me.
Yeah, Shameless. What was it? The other side of the moon.
The other side of the moon. Yes,
Okay.
it's basically about my experience. It's based on my story. It's fictionalized.
Yeah.
But it's based on my story, and all of the historical facts and dynamics are completely true. So in a sense, it's historical fiction.
It's available on Amazon, everybody out
What?
there.
I'm like
please
blown away. I
order
didn't
it
know
on
anything
Amazon.
about this. So, I mean, can you give us a little capsulization of?
Capsulization. Yes,
If
yes.
that's a word I just invented.
I love it. As a writer, it's very helpful. I'm expanding my vocabulary. Yes. Ugh, goodness, it's kind of, don't want to take up too much of my time, of your time.
We have nothing but
listeners'
time.
Okay, can edit it. But basically, Soviet system was an iron curtain.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea was to protect, quote unquote, people from knowing what the rest of the world is all about, so they can sustain their system without major upheaval. And the immigration was not allowed. The foreign travel was not allowed. And after the creation of Israel, it was negotiated that Jews can reunite with their family and leave Russia on Israeli visa, but you had to be Jewish.
Right.
And mind you, being Jewish is not the religious matter in the Soviet Union. It's ethnicity. It's race.
Right.
So my father was a Polish Jew.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a purebred Russian. My father passed away, and my mom was by then retired and quite restless. She was a reckless adventurer, and she decided because there's nothing left for her in this country. She wanted to see the world and expand her life.
Good for her.
Yeah. Kind of. So she decided
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Well, it became.
Yes.
So she decided to apply for Israeli visa, but they wouldn't take her application because she had no grounds.
Right. Wow.
But that put me, it was just me and her, in a precarious position. I, first of all, didn't want to leave the country. I wanted to finish my studies and go on with my life. I loved my city.
Because this is when you were in college, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So they didn't accept even the application, and we said, fine, whatever, thank God, or whatever.
Sure.
And one night we received a phone call. It was 9 p.m., I remember, saying that we are allowed to leave, and we must do so within 30 days.
Wow.
So that was the kind of earthquake that shook our lives
Yeah.
forever.
Who said you were allowed to leave?
Well, that
The
was a
state?
very good question. So, whom did the phone call come from? Was it a prank? Because it's 9 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, government never sleeps and everybody listens to your conversations, but still. So the next day, we went to the proper agency that
Right.
was in charge of immigration, and they confirmed. And
Wow.
so it was.
Oh, okay.
So it was
Great.
30 days, and you're out. You're allowed to take $100 per person with you,
Wow.
and
So
whatever.
some real startup money right there.
Yeah, no kidding. And in terms of your possessions, like, I don't know, several suitcases.
Right.
And that's it.
And what year was this?
81.
Okay.
And I looked around and I saw that in an instant, everything turned to ash. So I
Right.
understood to the core of my being what it meant. You can't take it with you.
Right. Yeah.
And that was it. And a month later, my adventure and my rebirth began.
And you immigrated to?
I immigrated we had to go through Europe first, and I immigrated to America, to New York.
Okay. And your mom with you, right?
My
No?
mom, my bright, strong mom of the age of 60 was with me without the language, without
Wow.
knowledge of how to function in the new society, without an ability to drive,
Right.
and at an older age.
Did you speak English?
Yes.
You did?
You
Yes.
learned in university.
I had a very good education in the circle where we grew up. It was a must to be well educated and
Yeah.
versed in languages
Right.
and literature and culture and all the other stuffs.
Wow. And that was Gorbachev?
Brezhnev.
Brezhnev. Okay. Wow.
So there I was.
There you were in New York City.
New York City, which I despised. It was.
Yeah.
It's a tough
too.
town.
Me too.
It's a tough town.
It's not that it's tough town. I mean, I was too naive. It's like a newborn because we knew
Yeah.
nothing about what the rest of the world is like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
all,
a lot.
all I knew about New York, that it's a modern city with glistening skyscrapers. And we landed and we got picked up by our distant relatives
Okay.
and taken to Queens,
Hey.
where there are no glistening anything except for chain link fences and trash piled up against it. And it was kind of a rude awakening. And if you know St. Petersburg, it's like superb,
Beautiful.
architectural marvel of the world.
Right.
And then you give everything up.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
incredible.
wake up in Queens, New York, in your dreamland, and that you open your eyes to, and it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And you very much still were wanted to get into like the entertainment industry in some way, right?
Well, I knew kind of who I was, but to be honest, the shock of being transplanted so suddenly
Yeah.
is too much you're just grasping at straws to emotionally survive.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, was probably the last thing on your mind. I mean, the culture shock alone is just incredible.
Yes. And the gravity of loss.
Right.
That is something that is very hard to deal with.
Did you not think you'd ever be able to really go back?
Of course not.
Yeah.
and you left a lot of family behind them.
No, I didn't leave family because my parents had very difficult childhood and upbringing because of the turmoil of the war and post-revolutionary. My mom's family was in exile.
I see.
And they were all dispersed. So we didn't know our family, basically.
So the family that you stayed with in Queens, were they your mother's family?
Father's side.
Father's side.
Father's side, yes. At the time, very prominent family in Moscow. Her husband was a photographer, and she ended up remarrying, and her new husband was like a limousine driver, and they became Orthodox Jews. I didn't know anything about Judaism, and suddenly I couldn't turn on and off the light at a certain time.
Right.
I was like, what happening?
Wow.
Why does he have the curly things under his head?
Right.
What's on his head to begin with?
Well, you had a full culture shock in every way. I mean, it's amazing. You were in your 20s, or?
I was 22.
Wow, that's a lot, Pola.
It was indeed.
I'm sure that everything that you've dealt with in the film industry pales in comparison to all of that.
Yes.
Seriously, I mean,
It gives you a little bit of perspective.
100%. I just think about that pin that used to be kicking around that said it's only a movie, and it's like it's so true in comparison to like real life trauma, which is what you experienced.
Absolutely. But on terms of that pin that I do remember quite well,
Yes.
it's only a movie, but it is presented to us as a case of dire life and death
Yes.
emergency.
100%.
And it just never ceases.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So there's a big gap between New York City and LA. So how did it, how did you move out of that situation and rise above? And
It's mostly not a moving out, but running away.
mm-hmm.
As we traveled through Europe, and we had to stay in Italy for a month or two, and I met no, that's not true. I had a friend that I met in Russia that was going to Stanford University in Palo Alto.
Right.
And then we came to the Jewish agency that sponsored us, and it was called Roughed Off Organization. They still exist, and they believe in disbursement of Jews. So they said, because we want you guys dispersed, we're offering one ticket, one way, anywhere you want to go in the United States.
Wow.
So I raised my hands like, I'm going.
I'll take that.
I'll take that. I'm going to California because my friend lived there.
Right.
And there I was in California, in Palo Alto.
In Palo Alto. Wow.
Mm-hmm. With a very lucrative job as a house cleaner for a retirement home and a dishwasher in the evening for a little cafe.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was for some reason very excited about all that.
Sure. I could see that.
Yeah.
For how long?
6 months.
6 months.
Because by then I connected with CalArts and they gave me a scholarship and everything. And I just...
And that was a game changer.
Total game changer.
Yeah.
And I bought my Pinto station wagon.
Nice.
I learned that they tend to explode, but I didn't care.
What doesn't explode these days?
Exactly. It's such a common occurrence why I didn't pay attention.
It's a way to keep yourself awake when you're driving.
Exactly. So, and I moved to Santa Clarita, and I'm still here.
Wow. You moved to Santa Clarita. Was it even here then?
It
Barely.
was
Wasn't
not.
here.
It was not. Good question. It was not. But CalArts was.
Okay. Wow.
It was 82.
Okay.
And Santa Clarita as a city didn't exist. It came later. It was Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
Best 2 years of my life spent there.
I'll bet.
So awesome. But again, I was very naive. I was studying under Jules Engel, experimental animation. I loved the idea.
Animation?
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's
Yes.
interesting.
Because I love the idea of merging fine art and filmmaking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all amazing. It's completely the world that I left in Russia, like this bohemian cultural world. Plunging into CalArts, same thing, same type of person.
Right.
Very international. But then I graduated and I had to get a job and I started working in animation and suddenly they want me to animate He-Man.
Whoa.
And it's like, what?
Really?
And Care Bears. And it's
Oh
like,
my.
I can't do this. I've been trained in high art for
Right.
like 7 years of my life. What is He-Man? So, and also I realized it wasn't my place.
So,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
you didn't do the project at all, or
I did.
You did?
I did. I supervised layout for animation for a little bit, but it was not my thing.
Sure.
It was not my thing. And I realized
Why is that? Because if you made it to the end, you could obviously do it. Is it just something that you just felt was like
I can't do He-Man. It's like I am.
not He-Man?
I need culture. I need
You're an
art.
artist. Yes.
I can't do kitsch for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and also I did a film for free. It was called 315. I think it's still somewhere there to be seen. And I worked for Paul Ahrens, who was a prop master on that film, and and I just felt at home.
Wow.
And the film set invited me, took me in. They sensed the same organism.
Mm-hmm.
And
There it is.
it was a beautiful match. I knew filmmaking in my bones.
Right. Yes, of course.
So your first onset job was pretty much assisting a prop master?
He wasn't on the set for some crazy reason. He had
Was
an
the prop
assistant.
master on the set much back in those days?
Some. I mean, it's very unregulated. It's non-union.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
who
exactly.
knows?
It's like
Yeah.
he's probably doing a lot of different things.
Exactly. He was a prop master and 20 other roles, but his assistant was, and I assisted his assistant, and it was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great. And then I started getting calls. It went from there.
Yeah. So I see, getting into your resume now. I mean, you were assistant property master on Beetlejuice and When Harry Met Sally. I mean, those
Yes.
are two pretty iconic films. How did that happen?
Oh, I was very fortunate those days. The film that got me into the union was actually one of my favorite projects that I ever worked on was La Bamba.
Oh, nice.
And I worked for Rosemary Brandenburg.
Okay.
Who is amazing.
Yes,
and
she is.
my friend, and I love her to death. And knowing that my strength is on the set, she made me an on-set dresser. But
Right.
I prepped the opening sequence and dressed it pretty much by myself. It's when they were in their camp of fruit pickers, and I could relate to the layer of history that
Right.
went into that environment very well. And that was my favorite project because it was a real story.
Right.
Not only was it a real story, the family participated.
Oh, really?
Yes, and to have Richie Valence's family walk through that camp where they used to live themselves
Right.
and walk into what's supposed to be their tent, I was terrified
I'll bet.
that I shopped and dressed and then saying, this is amazing.
Nice.
That was such a reward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Taylor Hegford was a producer and great film at the end.
Yeah.
And that film brought us into the union.
Oh, very nice. So you got in pretty early.
I got in very early. And after that, I started looking. Oh, and another thing is, which is not fair to Rosemary, but they gave me a co-decorator's credit on that film as well.
Wow.
Because they acknowledged whatever accomplishment,
Sure.
whatever I brought to the film. Later, when I became a big prop master, nobody cared. Nobody acknowledged anything.
What did you get into
So
the union?
sad.
You just got into general property then, or in the union?
In Local 44,
Right.
I don't think we had
They didn't have classifications back then?
I don't think
I'm not
so.
sure.
I'm not sure either.
Because you never had to upgrade or do any of that stuff.
I think I had to take an exam when I've upgraded to a prop master.
Oh, right.
Yep.
I wish they
Right.
still did that.
I know you do.
I really wish they still did that. I would have been happy to take a test.
I know.
You
It'd
would
be
pass.
fun. Yeah,
You
of
would
course.
pass.
You know, I always, again, we've talked about this, but I always thought that, because 52 has a test. And I remember hearing that. It's like, oh, you have to plumb a sink. I'm like, wow, that's
What?
cool.
Okay.
You have to wait. You have to plumb a sink.
Yeah, you have to like make a sink working on the set. You know, I have to plumb it and get the water going and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, that
That's
sounds
a
like-
very specific circumstance. And
I don't know why that stuck out in my head. It was like, oh, I could do that.
Well, it's a very common task for if you
Right.
think about it. So it makes kind
100%.
of makes sense.
Because again, you know, what property masters did and do in 52 is different than 44. They have a lot more responsibility.
right.
So
plumb a sink.
Plumb a sink.
I would never pass.
It was kind of like before I was allowed to get my driver's license when I was younger. My parents they wouldn't let me go to get my driver's license unless I could show them how to change a tire and jump a battery.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
I think makes sense.
sure.
It does. It does.
100%.
I would never pass.
Now it's called AAA.
Exactly. I buy that.
I know how to
service.
dial AAA.
I have people for that. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know, in awesome, or also that is kind of what Property Master entitles, or, you know, encapsulates as well, is, you know, learning how to designate. You know, I mean, because we don't do it all by ourselves.
No.
It is a collaboration of a lot
Absolutely.
of different people doing a
It's-
lot of different things.
You can't narrow down our job to specific tasks.
Right.
It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
And every day is a new
Right.
revenue.
And we're the ringmaster.
Yes. And
Really.
it's up to us to pull it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
And the world is your playground.
Yeah, it's so funny. Just this weekend, my TV, for whatever reason, whenever you turn it on, it goes to the Hallmark channel.
Oh,
I
goodness.
don't know
That's
why.
a punishment.
I know. I got to figure out how to change that. I don't know why. It's just the default on my TV for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to do Hallmark films. So the other day, I turned on the TV and I'm like, oh my God, that's Joanne Woodward up there. That's Blind Spot, which was one of.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see this? It got a 5.9 on the IMDb. It was horrible, but nonetheless, her husband Fritz Weaver was a hawk. What do they call those people who deal with hawks?
A bird person? I don't know.
Bird person. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one. There is a term for it. Nonetheless,
Falconer?
A falconer. Thank you. And
God.
thank God is right. Can you cut that out?
I can do whatever you want.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so anyway, so there was all these scenes with him with the falcon and with the hood on and everything, and it's like I have very little recollection of any of that. You know, I did all of that. It's like I must have hired somebody, you know, I brought somebody in to do that, but it just reminded me like, yeah, we don't do every single thing ourselves.
We're
you know?
not supposed to.
No. Well, I didn't know that when I was first starting out. I thought I had to do everything. That's why I had a migraine every day for like 3 years. But,
Yeah.
But
That's why
I
you were
think-
a cat person.
Yes, I was a cat wrangler. Yeah. Yes, on a Dario Argento movie. But
I made fake cats for a cat parade on one of my shows.
a cat parade.
Yes, I was kind of like
I love
shopping
that.
for a little toy for your son yesterday, and I remembered how I successfully made fake cats walking around. Yes.
Whoa. You made them walk around
Well,
too?
they didn't. They were kind of dragged, but because I decided, because I
They were
mixed
deep
them
background.
with live cats, but because I weighed the paws down with shot,
Nice.
they had a certain gravity and a certain movement to the bodies that sold it.
Right?
Oh.
Yes.
It's amazing what you could get away with that.
Anyway.
I did this on, what was it? Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Some crazy episode where they had to have a nutria. Have you heard of this creature?
No.
No, not at all.
I know. I never have either, but they
Oh
wrote it.
yes, it's the fur animal.
Yeah, it's
yes,
like
I know.
a
nutria. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a groundhog. It's in that family. It's a rodent.
lives
It's a
underground.
giant rodent.
Yes.
Okay, so
it's known for its fur.
Yeah,
It's
well, they
haunted for
wrote
it.
this into the script. Okay, and I'm like, does it have to? Can it be a woodchuck? And they're like, no, it's got to be this. I'm like, I can't even find this creature out in the real world. Okay, so, but I found a couple stuffed ones, and so we ended up using those. But they wanted this shot where the thing was running across the, and then we had like woodchucks, real ones, for in the background, you know, because they were
Woodchucks, not nutrias.
exactly
Okay.
because you just can't get them.
Yeah.
And but they wanted one to run across in the background across the gravel. So I'm like, well, let me see what I could do. So I took a stuffed one from
Bischoffs.
Bischoffs, thank you. And you know how in Star Wars they did like one of those hovering crafts,
with the mirrors.
with the mirrors.
Yeah.
I built that.
Oh my
For
gosh.
the Nutria. And it
Oh my
worked.
gosh.
I have a video of it somewhere too because I did it in my front yard. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it. And they're like, all right, whatever. So I like had this long string all the way across the thing and I pulled across and they used it and it worked. And it
That's
was
awesome. Good
hilarious.
for you. Oh my gosh.
Those are the prop moments that we live for, right? I mean,
Well, live through.
and live through. Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. In hindsight, they're always great. So you had to build all these cats.
It's okay.
And
yeah.
did
Managed.
you like built the puppets? You sewed them all together, and
Yeah, I'm good at that.
I'll bet you are. But that was fun for you, right?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Okay.
bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You don't have one in your display case at home or anything?
I don't have a display case at home, period. Only you do. I'm glad someone does.
Yes.
I know Maggie's got it going on in here.
keep
We have to post some
Absolutely.
pictures of your studio.
Of the studio? Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So talk about Beetlejuice. Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first union film
Okay.
Oh, after La Bamba.
after La Bamba.
After-
And just real quick, was La Bamba like after you finished that? If to this day, after that being like one of the highlights of your career, do you like was it game over after that? You're like, this is what I'm doing. This is where my life is going to be.
Well, I knew before La Bamba.
You knew before that,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
And in props specifically too, or just in that realm at least?
In that realm, I
Yeah.
needed to be on the set. I
Right.
needed to be a part of the process. That's where my life is.
Yeah.
My life is filmmaking.
Yeah.
And incorporating my art capacity is just a good merger.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I started looking for work, making phone calls, and came across this strange film called Beetlejuice. I have no idea what the hell that is. And the lead person was Cheryl Karasik. And I was applying for a swinging position. And calling her, and I think I wore her down, and she hired me on the
Nice.
swinging. And Rick Carparelli was
Rick
her,
Caparelli?
Yes,
Wow.
her right hand. And I just started on their team for a while. I think I annoyed Rick Carparelli tremendously.
Was he lead man or?
I had no idea.
He
that
was I think a gang boss because Cheryl was a lead person.
Oh.
And basically did most of the decorating. But yes, very gruff person. And anyways, once the filming started, Bill Petrada asked me to be on set with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I loved it. It just is like, this is my world. This is my atmosphere. He had his second. I unfortunately don't remember his name. And I basically worked for him. And it was amazing.
I'll bet.
Yes. And my favorite story from Beetlejuice was those days, people that were prop masters and people that were in special effects were very big men.
Right.
They didn't have too many women
Right.
there.
Absolutely.
And we had a scene where the shrimp cocktail becomes possessed and jumps out of the jar and
Right.
grabs actors' faces.
Right.
And those days, no CGI, so those were puppeteers that
Right.
had to all be under the table and puppeteer the shrimp. Which is great, except they were all giant guys that simply didn't fit under that table. There were no small people there.
Right. That's hilarious.
So it wasn't working. So they grabbed me and said, Pola, go under the table, do this, because
Right.
you fit. It's like the only qualification that was required.
It's like we know who this is a job for.
That's fantastic. So when we watch the movie, we'll know that you're under the table there,
Yes, I'm
shoving
one
shrimp
of-
in people's face.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yes. So they even gave me this glove to take home. And I scared my future husband, and he still married me.
Fantastic. Do you still have the glove?
No, I had to get
tragic.
it back. It is tragic. It is tragic. So that was a remarkable thing. And I loved, at lunchtime, we all slept in the model because it had foam grass.
Nice.
Yes. And when Beetlejuice was carrying around in the model the giant candy bar, Bill asked me to actually carve it out of styrofoam.
Nice.
And I sure could.
That's beautiful.
So that's another thing, another
So
concept.
Had you done sculpting before that too?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure, right?
I did actually to graduate from with my bachelor's. I had painting classes,
yeah,
and
you
did
sculpting,
everything. That's awesome.
and
Well-rounded
drawing,
education
and-
there. Yeah. How was Michael Keaton back then?
Michael Keaton loved me because I was the only person that he said hello to in the morning.
Nice.
Oh.
Because I absolutely had no idea who he was,
Right.
and neither did I care.
Yeah.
Right.
And he felt completely safe that this person is not going to bug him.
Yeah.
because
And he wasn't that big then yet, right?
he was pretty big.
Was he?
He was pretty big, or at least his attitude was.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
Because, Michael Keaton was a grip originally
Oh, really?
on the Fred
I didn't know
Rogers,
that.
Was he?
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh,
in
wow.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
So cool.
I know, right?
Yeah, he was very kept to himself. And Alec Baldwin
Right.
was there.
That's right.
Very method,
Yep.
very full of himself. Loved doing push-ups before every take.
Nice. Got to look good on camera.
Yeah.
And Gina Davis, my very favorite.
Sweet.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. I worked with her later on
Yeah.
Glow.
Yeah. We got to
On
work with her on
Glow,
Glow.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Down on location down in Ontario.
Oh my gosh, incredible person.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
That exudes on camera.
Yeah.
I've never worked with her. So how about when Harry
Met
Sally?
Sally.
That's another big film.
Did Bill
Yes.
Petrotta do that one too? Or?
He did not.
No.
He did not.
No.
Was Beetlejuice your only one that you worked for Bill Petrotta on, or did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was. And David Glazer was a prop master,
Right.
became my great friend, and actually worked for me later as well.
Oh, cool.
He was a prop master on When Harry Met Sally, and he hired me, and I assisted him. He was very surprised that I ran the set, and I didn't want him on the set. But he resigned to that. I functioned just much better if nobody interfered. I just knew what I was doing and just let me
Right.
do it.
Is that being the onset assistant prop master? Yeah. I've learned. I had a buddy ask me the other day actually about that. He's like, "Oh, what would you suggest to like onset assistant prop master? Like, what's it been?" I was like, "Don't bug them unless they ask you to."
Right.
Like that's like the key thing to learn if like you're
Right.
trying to get in and you just want to be an onset assistant. I was like, don't bug them unless because it's their world, and then when
Right.
they need help, they're usually really good at asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always would say, I just need you to be within eyesight.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
that's it.
Right.
You know,
And pay
when I
attention.
turn around to look for you, I need you to be there.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So, and what else? And I went as a prop master to Chicago with When Harry Met Sally.
I was gonna say that's shot in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Part of it was shot in Chicago, and did a great job. Loved it. Meg Ryan was amazing.
That was like a separate unit that went to Chicago then? Like, is only a skeleton crew type of deal, or?
No, it was the main crew.
It was the main crew.
Yes.
Was it mostly shot in Chicago?
No, there was a small part of the university scenes that were shot in Chicago, and then the majority of the film was shot in New York.
Right,
So
that's what I
David
thought.
had to prep New York,
I see.
and that's why he stayed behind
I
and
see.
sent me to Chicago, which
And did
I was
you then
grateful for.
go on to New York? as
I
well?
did not go on to
I
New
see.
York. I just did Chicago,
Got it.
but I prepped the whole feature with him.
Right. Nice.
So, yes, it was wonderful. And Meg Ryan was very impressive. Came to the set first day, knew every person's name.
Nice. Wow.
Very impressive.
That is impressive.
Yes.
So you weren't in the room when they did the scene in the restaurant,
I was there.
were you?
Absolutely.
Was that shot in Chicago?
No, it was shot in San Pedro.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
A lot of the film was shot in LA. So,
I see.
yes, I was right there
iconic scene that was hilarious, and that was Rob Reiner's mother, right?
Rob
Or-
Reiner's mother?
Isn't
Rob
that-
Reiner directed.
Yeah, right. But it wasn't his mother the one who said, "I'll have what she's having."
Oh, I see. Yes. I wasn't sure what you were referring to. Yes, it was funny.
Yeah, and I bet so on the day, in the moment, it was probably a hilarious scene, right?
It was a hilarious scene, but it's very difficult for me to be a spectator.
Sure.
To
Right, because you're resetting.
I'm resetting. I am watching what their action may require. Like there was a scene we shot later with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan after they got together. They're trying to have a normal lunch and they're eating a salad in the restaurant and it's not working out. And what was important for Billy Crystal is that every bit of the salad was that little crunchy part.
Right.
So my focus was I could not care less, but it's like, and I knew for his acting, he needed to crunch
Right.
in order to fill the silence
Yeah.
of what was happening between them. And that was my focus.
I love that. That's like one of those small pieces of what we do that people don't get sometimes.
Oh, I
Right?
think 80% of what we
Yeah.
do, people don't get something.
No, it's 100% true, but it's
Yes.
yeah, and actors get it,
Actors completely get it.
right? That's we had
Yes.
Virginia Madsen on, and she definitely got it.
Yeah.
and it was nice to have that acknowledgement from that world, because again, as we all know, there's a large part of what we do:
Yes.
drive story and build character.
Most
Absolutely.
actors get it.
Yes, true. That's true. Not every actor.
Lots
gets
of
it.
directors get it too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. My favorite bit was when I worked with Treat Williams on True Believer. It was a TV series.
Okay.
It was renamed Eddie Dodd.
Okay.
And it was, I had to set up his desk. He was a lawyer, like stuck in the 60s. And all of the paperwork and his murder books and had to have the 60s vibe to it.
Right.
And I just did it all. Every page he could flip was full of real, authentic stuff.
Beautiful.
Was it ever on camera? No. But he said, Pola, I appreciate what you've done for me because when I come to the set, I instantly become that person by
Right.
looking at what you've provided.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that was like, that's something.
And that's what set you apart
well,
from a lot of people, for sure.
hopefully, I actually didn't know any other people or how they worked.
Right.
It was just very gratifying to me that, yes, all that energy translates.
Yes.
So, and that was early in my career. So it was very helpful, that feedback.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's fantastic.
When you fill the pages, they definitely, I mean, because that's what they read it all, the actors.
it is.
They
It never
do.
goes on screen, but the actors read every word that you put into like those journals.
Right.
They sure do.
whatever. Like I've
Very-
always noticed that because they always say something to you. It's like,
Right.
oh, this is good. And I do kind of like, I'm not a writer or anything like that, but I like putting in that little piece of like your own backstory to the story.
Good
like,
for
oh, this is the
you.
piece
Yeah.
I can write.
Good for
About the
you.
character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Share
And
that
it's very
energy.
tedious
Yeah.
work, but it always pays off. for
Yeah,
sure.
and once you get rolling, though, it kind of gets fun. I mean, to me anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
not everybody.
Yeah, I used to try to have fun with that too. Especially things where I don't think they're going to read it. I just like throw stuff in because I don't want to just use ipsum lorem or whatever that fake text is. But when I was doing Popular, which was one of Ryan Murphy's first shows ever, I had to create a pamphlet called "Know Your Vagina,"
Oh, goodness. Okay.
and I had to write out everything inside the pamphlet, and I had so much fun with it, and it was so hilarious that the actors just kept laughing the whole time. It
And
was
they
really
never
fun.
got the take because everybody
Yeah,
was
yeah,
laughing
Yeah,
too much.
then it's like, what are you doing? You're killing me here. So, but it's fun to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But now I've discovered they're more interested in what that text is.
Absolutely.
Before it used to be like, whatever, put whatever in there. Now it's like you have to get everything approved, and sometimes the writers want to write it, and
Yeah, absolutely.
which is always another challenge that
Or they want the actor to write it too, which is
right.
depending on how much it is, you got to find them for that period of
Well,
time
see,
to be
that's the
able
thing.
to.
Trying to get that copy from people is sometimes can be difficult. You know, it's
Yeah.
like try to compel the writers to write something that's not part of the script. It's like that can be very challenging sometimes.
Well, yes, you have to bug them all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, have
Well,
to
it
be
gets
after
punted
them.
to their assistant half the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and then I see you did 30 something.
Yes,
That was fun, right?
it was fun. I was on the set. I ran the set.
Set
for that.
master on that. Nice.
Well, no,
No?
I wasn't a set master. I was assistant to the set master that was drunk in the gold room all the time.
Okay.
I mean, it was the 80s, I guess, right?
That's right. Exactly. Drunk or high. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And that actually promoted me. One of the directors invited me to his pilot because he said, Pola, to me, you are the prop master.
Nice.
No way.
And he invited me, Ron Lagmartino. I became a prop master on his pilot.
Wow. Nice. That's very cool. And yeah, and you work with Kenny Olin,
Yes,
who I worked with on Alias. Such a good guy.
he's a great guy. He it was his first time directing on 30 something.
Right.
And the poor guy was so terrified
bet.
that the only way he can control his emotions is by screaming everything he was saying.
You mean on camera?
Action!
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Cut!
That's hysterical. I wonder if he still does that.
No, hopefully not. Hard in the ears.
What did that pilot ever like? It never went anywhere.
Oh, it did.
What
no,
was the pilot
it
for?
It was True Believer. It was Eddie.
Oh,
Dodd.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was. I did the series.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
And now you're prop master.
And from then on,
Definitely.
I became a prop master, and I was very young and got promoted very fast. And I guess many people didn't like it, and I was too naive to notice.
So when you say many people didn't like it, many people like other prop masters.
Other
in
prop
the,
masters in the industry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, that was pretty ahead of your time for you to be a female property master. So and you got a lot of blowback then.
Yes, I guess I did.
How old are you though? You were like what, late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
30.
That's not that young though to prop master. I don't think.
Well,
is
for a
it?
female.
For a female,
in
it
the
is.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
kidding me? I looked very. I have like this baby
2000.
face, not anymore, but. And I was not like this giant, imposing person. I
Right.
Yeah.
had a slight frame and a female and a foreigner
Oh yeah.
with the
Oh,
baby
right.
face. And it's like, what? How did she get the job?
Yeah.
And she didn't even sleep with anyone.
You must have been good.
yeah.
Something is wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
Well, but again, and you were so hyper focused on what you were doing
Exactly.
that it's just you
It
didn't
didn't.
notice.
I did notice. It didn't matter to me, and it's like I'm sure they said many. I was insulted very many times,
Right.
but I either lack of my language skills in certain expressions or whatever. It didn't matter.
Or the metal that you were forged from.
Exactly. I just couldn't care less. It's
Yeah.
like that makes no sense. Why would she say that?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, because you have to have tough skin in this business in the first place, and especially if you're a woman.
Right.
So
Right.
it didn't. You didn't let the bastards get you down, as John
No.
Wayne would say.
No. Bastards didn't exist for me. They were much lower than didn't deserve my attention.
You just kind of surfed from TV show to TV show after that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you prefer television,
Yes, definitely. It was my choice,
right?
conscious choice, because I had to come home every night.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand traveling anymore. I've traveled enough.
right.
And that was why I didn't want to go on vacation for 6 months. Also, I was married at that time and still am.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, it's important. I mean, it's hard to have a consistent family life when you're in a feature world traveling a lot. It's just
right.
the truth.
It wasn't enough. It didn't matter enough for me
Right.
to compromise on that level.
Yeah. We talked about this before we started recording, that the notion of taking over a show that's already either in like its second season or whatever, or after a pilot, and so again, for new property masters out there, I think it's important for us to talk about a little bit about that process of, taking over a show that somebody's already started.
I took over your show.
You did. That's right. The Wedding Band.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm grateful to you to introduce me to the
Tim Marks, right? Was it? Oh, no.
No, I love what is it? Dan, the drummer guy, the guy with all the drums, the vendor.
Right. I can't remember who that was.
Dan
No.
Savell.
Okay.
There you go.
See that?
Yeah.
I forgot more than I know.
But yes, what would you like me to?
Well, I mean, again, it's like for me, doing a pilot, you have to do everything from the ground up, and you set the stage. So, have you done pilots that then became series?
Most of my pilots became series.
See that? You got. I was the
That's
cooler,
lucky.
like I said.
It's luck.
Well, pilot season's like not becoming a thing anymore. It's non-existent anymore.
I think seasons are non-existent anymore.
I mean, most even episodic,
Random.
yeah, most episodic shows or whatever. Because I mean, a lot of these series that you probably worked on in the beginning had like what
22.
20 episode seasons and stuff like that. And now that's like you're lucky if you
10.
get 8 or
8 to
10.
10,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is insane.
So what I would say, taking over a show, first of all, know why you're taking over a show.
Right.
Very important to know that what you're stepping into. Taking over after your pilot was fantastic. It was great. Everything was working correctly.
Right.
Except you still need to reestablish a different system because it needs to work consistently,
Right.
episode after episode for, let's say, 10 or 15 or 22. But respect what worked previously
Right.
and understand what didn't
Yes.
and understand why it didn't.
Exactly.
Make sure you're not set up to fail.
Yes.
Make sure you're not in a trap.
Right. Well, I know, and I mentioned that too. Like especially if you're taking over a show, that there was a previous property master, and they're not asking that property master back.
Exactly.
That's always was my first question. Is okay. Well, you watch the show, you see, and I could say that most of the time that I've ever taken over a show, the props were perfectly fine, if not spectacular. And I'm like. So that's always my first question. What was it about that property master that you didn't like, that didn't work? And oftentimes it's personality.
A lot of the time is personality. And if the personality of a prop master is not compatible to the people that he's or she's working for, they will not notice the props.
Right. That's true.
And that's unfortunate. I ran into it. I took over Big Love. I think they had a couple of prop masters before me. Some of the props were quite poor, and some were so well crafted.
Right.
But I know the person that was in charge, and he is difficult to deal with.
Right.
And people don't need grief.
Right.
It's hard enough.
Sure. Absolutely. And I also have noticed sometimes where I've taken over a show and then discovered that the reason that the property master left was because they were unhappy, and they didn't like the consternation of that and that whole negative vibe. But then it turns out that the reason that they were unhappy is because they were being abused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
Exactly.
There's a show that I did a season after you did it. I won't be specific yet, but
I'm curious now. You must be.
no. Oh no, they
Pola's got all her cards on the table
I know.
here.
You'll be able to guess.
Okay.
But they had they had like I think they went 3 or 4 seasons, but they had different prop team every season. But the rest of the crew was the same. And coming into it, everybody was like, "Oh, it's a family here. We're all family."
Was it just
Yes,
Add Magic?
yeah, it was, and it was just a nightmare for props,
Right.
and and it's a kids show,
Right.
So like there's a lot of specifications to where the directors just wanted like none of the notebooks could be a certain colors that would be school colors, and the DP thought he was like making something that would win the next Emmy Award and stuff like that.
Right.
And they all got along great, sure, but like it was horrible for props and it was not fun at all.
I did really well on that show. Come on.
I'm not saying you didn't do well, but I'm just saying it wasn't fun.
It was fun.
It was not fun. Oh yeah, you were there for one season, Pola.
I was there for one season.
Wait, what show is this?
Just Add Magic. But you know what?
Okay.
You know what? She left the show and went to something that was one of the most fun shows I've ever worked on, which was Glow.
Yes, well, I did it on hiatus. Come on. They were pissed at me.
I see. Nice.
But the trick about that show was there was a cookbook that was
Yes.
magic cookbook that had to be basically the main hero of the main actor of the whole show.
Right.
Except when I took it over, it looked pretty bad. And I said, okay, we need to, resources were horrendous. My budget was $3,000
Yeah.
an
An
episode.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Was it Disney?
I don't even know what
Okay.
the hell that was.
Yeah,
But
I
I said,
don't know.
sure, I'll
Amazon,
do it.
I think.
3,000.
Yes. I said, it's okay. If you want to spend $3,000, let's see what it's going to look like. But I made the writers. I came to the writers' room and I said, what's the origin of your book? What is the origin of magic? It doesn't go, oh, it's just magic. It's like,
Right.
never is just magic.
Yeah.
Right.
So every recipe that you write, let's think about where it came from. That background will give me an idea of how to present it visually.
Right.
And I did. And I made Sherry it's an ancient book. So I made Sherry at ISS,
ISS, yeah.
learn how to hand bind it. So
Yeah.
this book in one day was hand rebound every time, and every new recipe. Oh, I enjoyed making that.
I'll bet.
It was just
It had
beautiful.
to be re-hand bound because the thing was always falling apart anyway. Also,
Well, yes, but anyway,
I know. They're so tedious.
It's a pain in the ass, but I loved the graphics that came out of it.
Well, I love the paper props because they're always inserted, you know,
Right.
and they're always, you know, something that you see a lot of. So, but it
Exactly.
is always the most amount of work, especially when you
Yes.
have to handwrite things and build things and have doubles and
My weakness, though, as beautiful as my pages were, I would not notice spelling mistakes.
Oh, you and me both, sister.
I'm terrible with the
I'm
spelling
so
mistakes.
bad because I look at it as a visual
Yeah.
composition, and letters are just gray and meaningless for my brain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, the book was actually probably one of the more fun parts about that show. If I'm
no,
if
the
I'm
rest
being
is
real.
the rest is a disaster.
Yes. Yeah, because and there like every once in a while, like you got a prop that was like something mysterious. That it's like a drafting tube that popped out in a pirate map, something like that. So that stuff was cool. But then it's a show that revolves around food. So you had like a permanent like pizza restaurant, and you had like all this stuff, and
And no time or money. They had anyway.
And do you have
Yeah.
a food stylist?
oh yeah, they had
that's
they had a food stylist in house. Yep.
Right.
that she functioned, but not well.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say anything.
We won't name names.
No,
No, it's all right. You had to bring it up.
it's food.
Well, I mean, food. I mean, you know.
And then Teresa ended up on our season. She ended up food styling on it for a little while, and
Okay.
she was great. And Neil Zaromsky food styled on it for a little
Right,
while.
well-
Neil Zaromsky.
Yeah, yep. He came in and did a little bit. There's a couple people that came in and did it.
I remember when there weren't food stylists, and we did it all.
Right.
Right?
Right. But that's a dangerous way to go.
Well, I always found that whenever I had to do food, I would always make sure that whatever I was giving to an actor, I ate first.
Yeah, it's got to be said. So if I keel over, then
Well,
we
just
know we
because-
shouldn't.
Well, because I had an actor, and I'm not going to name names, accuse me of giving him food poisoning.
Oh, gosh.
You know, and it wasn't true because I ate the same food he ate.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's like, okay, I don't know, you not wanted a day off, I don't know, but Yeah. So trust me, I appreciate that we have food stylists now
Yeah.
because, and I've done, did a whole diner out of a garage in Vermont.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was not
Oh my
code.
gosh.
It was not code.
So, yeah.
You worked on Gilmore Girls
Yes.
forever.
I was gonna,
Yes.
that's the next thing I wanted to ask you about, doing a long series. Mm-hmm. So, yes, do talk about Gilmore Girls,
Oh my.
right?
Is this a hot topic?
Yeah, is that a good experience?
Something must have been good because you stayed on for 100 episodes.
That's
100
right.
Episodes.
Over 100.
Over 100 episodes.
Well, it's an interesting experience. I loved Gilmore Girls until I didn't. Amy Sherman Palladino, who is an brilliant, exquisite writer
Yes.
and very quirky human being.
Right. Did Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's her show. Go ahead.
Friend of, yeah, never mind. We won't go into that. But anyways, the thing about Amy, she doesn't release her scripts until the day before they shoot.
What?
Why? Oh, my.
Oh my. So the strategy was, in her mind, helping her not getting notes from Warner Brothers.
I see.
So they wouldn't have time to change anything. So, and that lasted for 6 years that I've been there.
Did they give you any heads up on things?
No.
Oh, my.
And there's no production meeting, there's no prop meeting. So basically the idea is that there is one meeting with the script and you shoot the next day, or you have maybe one day to prep. And
So it's like a page turn with all the department heads pretty much?
yeah.
Oh, boy.
And the thing is, she would get annoyed with questions. And I can understand that for a creative being like her, being bogged down with boring questions was an imposition. However,
It's not the medium for that.
so I replaced somebody on that show, and it was all very secretive how I got an interview.
Right.
And I came into this really strange boudoir that was her office.
Wow.
All in pink and fuzzy. Everything was pink and fuzzy.
Really?
Yes, that's Amy, pink and fuzzy.
Okay.
And I basically got called in on a very short notice, and I only watched a couple of episodes, and I told her that I like that it's light, it has humor, and yet it addresses real issues. And she was so taken by that line that she hired me right away, because she felt that there is a person that connects with what she's trying to do. Yes, I did connect, but a lot of it was basically guessing and getting into her head and trying to imagine what she would see.
Right.
And I somehow had that ability.
That's a skill, for sure. It's an important one.
It's an important one, but it's draining.
Yeah, it's got to be stressful because
Extremely.
Essentially, you just had to show up on the day every single day and hope what you had was going to be good
correct.
enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
After a while, she would write and said, "Ha, I'm going to write this and see what she's going to bring me." And that was kind of...
For real?
Yes,
Wow.
she told me.
Wow.
Yes, and I did. And I did that for 6 years.
And if you got it wrong?
I didn't.
Wow. That's how Terrence Malick works, too. There's no script. Sometimes there's not only do you not get it, there is no script. He just shows up and says, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what the scene is. And then he'll tell the prop master, this is what I want. If you could get it, great, but we're going to start shooting. And then they got to run. I mean,
at least there was an option if you can get it.
Yes.
There was no such thing. And I ended up, because I made a mistake of overextending myself, and I want to caution a lot of prop masters against it. Mm-hmm. Just because you have an ability, just because you're smart, you're experienced, you can do it, don't overextend yourself. You have one body. It will tell you
Yes.
no one day, and that will be devastating.
Thank you, because that's a really important thing, and I think a lot of people, and I was definitely guilty of doing that when I was younger, where you just like work around the clock to make it happen, and it's
Absolutely.
like it's not okay.
It's not okay, and it won't last.
Right.
You will burn out. I can guarantee you that. And that's basically what happened to me to a certain degree. But I would do stuff for the art department. I would dress the whole set. I would do all of the photographs. It's just not my job, and I should not have been
Yeah, that
involved.
live-in layer sometimes. The set,
right.
you have an unpar set decorator that just doesn't put the live-in layer in.
Well, that can make or break you on a show for sure. I mean, how many times have you come into like a police station and there's a light and there's an ashtray and a telephone and an ink blotter, and then it's like go. It's
Yeah.
like, that's layer one. Where's
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
rest?
And they don't give the on-set dresser anything either.
And
so they're
nothing on the
asking you-
billboard.
And
And the billboard tells the whole story.
Right.
And that's like 2 weeks prep.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry. With Gilmore Girls, I mean, something kept you keep coming back, even though it kind of beat you down like that, huh?
They kind of beat me down, but they also had almost like an incredible respect and appreciation for my work.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the budget, like if I asked for something, I got it.
Right.
Oh, nice.
And it was thrilling to be able to deliver and come up with the challenge. And also, those days we had John Bush at ISS Manufacturing.
Right.
But in collaboration with a lot of people, I could do miracles. You never do it alone.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
That saying, we're only good as people that work for us, is absolutely true.
100%.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
And the team, the crew itself must have been pretty good then too.
My crew was pretty good for a while, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's behind the scenes people that were incredible.
Yeah,
Right.
the support people for
Yes.
sure. Absolutely. So, we should talk about Glow.
Oh, let's talk about Glow.
I also want to bring up real quick
Go ahead,
that
jump in.
you did the first couple seasons of Dexter, which is one of my
Oh,
all-time
right, that's right.
favorite.
We jumped over
one
Dexter.
of my all-time
Oh.
favorite shows. And we had Josh Meltzer has done an episode before, so we have like the back end of the episode. He gave me a badge and a little like Miami Metro thing from the show too, so he added a little bit to the thing. But you did the first couple seasons.
I established the show. And
Yeah.
that's something about when you establish the show,
Yeah.
you bond with it.
Yeah.
There is a lot to be said for that with this like original creation and figuring out with a whole team of what the hell is it?
Yeah.
And
Right.
what does it look like? How does it function?
Where the props are also so stylized into the person's character, like that knife roll, the slides, all that stuff is kind of like makes that character. You know?
Keep in mind that I did all of the dead bodies.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me one time a story about like forgetting that Dode's torso was like in your trunk and your daughter saw it or something.
Oh my God.
My daughter, my poor child, now is 26 and incredibly a functional human being. But yes, there is a picture that she is very fond of with her standing next to my trunk with a burned up Doke's body in my trunk.
Oh no.
And then when she was small, she says, "Mother, why do I have to ride in a car with a thumb?"
Oh my.
It's the nature.
That's just how we do it, girl. That's how we do it. Yes, Dexter was fascinating. I had to, when I saw the pilot and all the dead, decomposing, dismembered bodies.
Fingers and ice blocks and stuff.
Oh, I did that. That was mine. I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a success. Yeah. But anyway, I had to kind of readjust my thinking about the whole thing to be able to actually do it.
Exactly.
I had to tell myself, because I wasn't sure I was going to take the show.
Yeah.
And my husband says, "Honey, you're going to be okay. Just have another martini."
That's a lot of martinis.
A lot of martinis. But I basically had to think of it as a sculpture.
I suppose. I mean, all that horror is hard.
It's hard, but I managed. I remember when I was setting up the morgue scene when they finally recovered all of the stash of Dexter's bodies and put them in the morgue in different stages of decomposition.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was all. I set up this whole thing with the pictures, everything. All the set dressing did the tables.
Sure.
So, and I'm walking around, I'm trying to compose it in the space properly. And of course, it's lunchtime and I'm eating my salad. And it's like, and people are totally horrified. How can you do this? And it's like, what?
Right.
I have to eat.
Right.
So
you're like an actual mortician where you have to separate yourself from what you're doing.
absolutely. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Yeah. And so was it all prosthetic? Then, I mean, because I remember when I did Alias and we had a lot of body stuff, we were using pork bellies and stuff.
No, I made everything out of silicone.
Did you? Okay, good for you.
No, there was nothing, because it's a contingent. You can't really do a lot of real blood and be safe with it, or the safety concerns are too great once you bring that to the set and the lights and all that. No, everything was built out of silicone, but very precisely anatomically.
And who did that work for you?
They are now in Canada, Masters Effects. They're the best. And I use them. The reason I have to...
They used to be in LA?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have to admit my not bad decision, but very practical versus artistic. The reason I left Dexter is because I got offered Big Love.
Oh, okay.
And Big Love was shooting in Santa Clarita.
Oh, nice.
It was a simple geographical.
So
Hey,
everybody can understand.
I sold out. Totally sold out. It was so sad.
Oh, Big Love is a good show.
Big Love's a huge show.
Was a great show.
Yeah.
And again, there were some bodies. I did some bodies for Big Love. Recycled dokes. Yes.
Nice.
Recycled
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So it was, on Dexter, the second season, Josh was my assistant. So I basically left the show for him and kind of coached him on the established system and whatnot.
Yeah, that became a big show for Josh.
Yeah.
He did it all the way to the end, I think.
Yeah, he came. Yes, it was good for him.
Yeah. And now he's retired too. So
That's right. I know.
Working in theaters in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he moved to Massachusetts, bought a little
wow.
house, and is doing theater work. God bless him.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Right? Good retirement gig,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
for sure. So are we up to
I think we
Glow?
can talk about Glow now. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
say.
sorry. I talk so much.
No, this is what I'm
This is
saying
why
about-
you're here.
This is what, yeah.
You can't talk too much.
And this is because
Really?
No.
this is where because I'm in the picture now. So with,
That's right.
So that's important.
So
Let's
we have
focus.
to talk about this stuff. It's like
I'm gonna turn
like
it
I
over
said,
to you guys.
I
Hit
did.
it.
I think I did 5 projects with you, Pola. And I think
Yes.
once I kind of started sticking with you guys, I didn't really leave because you were wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
And same with your team because we kind of all stuck together. We had Rachel. I'd assist Rachel and Dana on the truck and everything like that. But I came in on American Princess, but then you guys always just kept talking about Glow.
Right.
So Glow was incredible.
Right, fun show.
Glow was incredible. Great to work on. 80s show, period show, producers that showed great respect for my work, great appreciation, and we all work together. That's basically what
That's
it
the
takes.
best.
It is the best. Nobody works against you,
Right.
which is horrible. So that was, and visually, it was amazing.
Yeah,
We got
so
an
much
Emmy
fun.
for it.
Yeah.
Did you do all the seasons of Glow?
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I think I jumped on partially season 2, all of season 3, and everything. Because that was kind of based off of real events too, right?
Right.
So in the prepping and whatever, did they reference a lot of that stuff? A good amount.
The real stuff.
The real stuff.
Yes, they did. And again, the research is a must. You have to be precise. You're presenting the whole world. You cannot give away that you're actually filming it in modern day.
Right.
It has to all look authentic.
Was that your first period?
Actually, it was my second. My first period project was a nightmare.
What was that?
It was something that never seen the light of day,
I see. Yes.
but it was directed and produced by somebody very well known named David Fincher.
Wow. Yike. Okay, say no more.
Yeah, exactly. Say no more. Complete insanity. It was impossible to understand the system behind what he was doing or to understand what is it that he was trying to accomplish.
And this was a pilot?
It was a pilot, and then was like several episodes, but somehow when it was for HBO, the ones they saw when it was coming out, they just pulled the plug.
Wow.
So, but it was set in the 80s and very helpful because I did such tremendous amount of work and research for that time period. So although it was sheer misery, once I entered Glow, I had the background. It's like, hey, you helped me do the work.
I know the 80s.
Yeah.
And up until the point, you've done a lot of shows, but Glow, I think even working as an assistant on Glow, one thing that stands out about it is there was 14 principal actors on it.
That's huge.
Yes.
So that adds a certain form of not complication, but it's, I mean,
Difficulty.
usually it's like what, you have 3 or 4 that you have to like, you have to get their glasses down. You have to get, and not only do you have 14 characters that you have to do, but you also have their wrestling personas that each has a very specific character that has to revolve around.
True.
So how was approaching all that stuff?
Well, it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's challenging and it's fascinating at the same time. And when you're doing wrestling persona, what you have to keep in mind is that everything has to have safety considerations.
Correct. Right.
And I worked a lot with Beth Morgan, our costume designer. So she relied on me to do all of the metal pieces in the costume and accessories to the costume so they would be wrestling friendly.
Right.
So that was another
thing. So they're not metal.
Yeah.
Was there a metal version of it, or usually always was?
Yes, 2 versions.
Oh, there was 2 versions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah, with that though, then I mean the last season we did that never was. Well, I think we made it an episode and a half before it ended. They completely had changed everybody's characters. Also, it started from the ground up.
Yeah, they changed their personas. Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And so, Mikey, were you set master?
I was assistant to the set master, Rachel Flores.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I pretty much almost every project that we worked on, I pretty much assisted.
So that's a big job for you too when you have 17 principal characters, getting everybody up and running in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And just chairs alone.
Yeah. See, I did the chair. But yeah, and I mean, it was difficult and stuff like that, but we always seemed supported with like heavy background days because we did a lot of those like wrestling matches, which was like you have almost everybody in it, and then you have all the background, which is lots of signage, lots of hand signage and popcorn and stuff like that. We did that all the time too, but I felt like we always had the amount of people we need. And then, I mean, Rachel's a pro, so you can't get past that. Like she's been doing it for running sets forever for every big prop master you could think of. So if there was one person that could teach me the right way to do set, it was her.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what about rehearsals? I mean, did you do a lot of rehearsals before you shot, or did they rehearse days before?
Rehearsals days, they're basically were training days.
Right.
Yes, and we had to rehearse with props and a lot of manufacturing and
Was that a half hour or hour?
A half hour. And that's another difficulty. They are so hard. The pace is incredible.
They keep coming. It's so crazy. You never catch your breath. There's like maybe a half a day.
You never catch your breath, period.
Right.
I consider, or I speak about television, making television as deployment. It just, so until it's a wrap.
Well, into the newer shows that you've done too, because up until Dexter, I guess. After Dexter, it's pretty much has been this episodic kind of way, which are pretty much shows that are like movies almost.
They are like movies.
They are exactly like movies.
They are like movies.
Yeah.
And if you take your work. I just always do them like they're movies, which is probably why I get myself burned out. But yes, the filming, the resolution,
Yeah.
the
Right.
attention that camera can give to your prop is unforgiving. Absolutely. You better get it right on
Yeah,
the money.
that's a big change from the
Huge
old days
change.
when everything was shot on video
Yep.
for television. You know, you could get away with so much.
Or even on film.
Right.
That the shift to digital came to me on Dexter.
Yeah.
And digital wasn't as forgiving then. The highlights were so hot
Oh yeah.
Right.
that I had to recompose my props according to the new cinematography aspects.
And it's so much more stylized and yeah, the cinematography
Right.
looks like a movie at that point.
Yes.
That's
And,
what I'm saying.
and
Even,
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
really. And now when you get into these 8 and 10 episodes seasons, that's just what they are. It's like an 8 and 10 hour movie.
Right,
You know?
it is.
I mean, because there's a flow, there's an arc that goes throughout the whole season.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
One story told a lot of the times.
right.
Yeah. Television is very challenging. Well, everything we do is very challenging. If you want to do it correctly,
Right.
it takes all of you.
But it helps when you have when you have more money and more time to do things right. Like, you know, because again, when I've done a feature, which hasn't been a lot as well, it is a different ballgame. Okay, you know, you could come to set and you could walk around and rehearse and talk about a scene for 2.5 hours before you start shooting it.
Right.
And then you do, you know, a page and a half and you go home.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Television, it's such a business. And we were talking about this before we started too, that there's a sea change from when we started in the 80s and 90s to where we are now, of how much more corporate things are, you know, and how much more, you know, it is a product that we're producing as opposed to art.
Absolutely. And yet, the demand from the audience is higher.
Yes.
And the expectation is more. And it better be art on some level or it won't live.
100%. And it is, you know, and we do create it.
We do create it,
it's
just against so many odds.
so many odds. It's just insane.
It is.
Yeah, the level that we work at and the product that we do turn out under the circumstances that we do it in is mind-boggling. sometimes.
Mind-boggling, exactly.
And I think we're underrated. I'm just going to say it.
We are completely underrated.
well, hopefully we can change that. In
We
the
are.
future. Working on it.
We're working on it.
Give
damn
up
it.
those chairs, guys. What the hell is? Why do
trust
we
me,
need those chairs?
See,
I'm gonna
okay,
push
but,
for
all
that.
right, let's get into it. The chairs. Okay, we started this.
Have we never talked about the chairs on this really?
Well, we did with Virginia, and then we.
Not too deep though.
But we had to like do a little editing there. But nonetheless, I have the chairs don't bother me. I mean, because for me, I look at the chairs like it is like Virginia said, you know, it's her place where she can go and be quiet on set, you know, because she doesn't want to always go back to her trailer. So sometimes she just wants to be on set, but she wants to, you know, go through her script or whatever. So I always look at the chairs as another thing that I'm providing for the actors, you know, a little respite for them to be able to come and sit and be. I don't necessarily like moving them all day long.
But that's what it is.
I will bring them out in the morning and I will take them back at the end of the day. But if chairs are moving and I'm doing other things, that's not my first priority. That's where I need help. And you guys either have to give me somebody or you're going to have to just, you know, let me hire somebody. I don't usually have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the carts taking up room on my trailer.
That's
First
a
of all.
nightmare.
Yeah, and they're big, heavy. I don't like moving them around so much. I think because they're always gonna nagger you to like try to get village set up when there's a rehearsal going on and stuff like that. Like there's something else that we're doing right now that's more important than where this producer is gonna sit. We are also sitting there, and I love script supervisors, but at the end of the day, when there's no props and we have to be there to the end sometimes because there's a script supervisor sitting in a chair.
Doing
So we
notes.
literally have to sit there when we can cut off, and I'm not going to complain too much about that part,
Right.
but I don't think it should be our responsibility, I'm ready to hand that one off.
There is another aspect of the chairs. First of all, it does take our time, our space, our time. First of all, in the morning when we're setting up, which I would much rather be worried about setting up the props than correct chair backs for according to the call sheet. At the end of the day, like Mikey is saying, it takes us back to waiting until everything is done. So we don't need to. I personally would rather not have to deal with it. But if we're saying the concept of the prop is what actor is handling with their hands on camera, that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we provide. That's who we are. That's how we contribute to the product on screen. How do we end up? What does chair off stage have to do with a prop?
I don't know. Somebody should do a deep dive to try to figure out where that came
I
from
do.
before everybody dies
Actually,
off who was there.
I have a theory.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
good.
yeah. Let's hear it.
When I just started and I was working on 30-something for a prop master called Pelamine, very interesting creature he was. He wore a wig and powdered his face.
Interesting.
Very interesting, and spoke in a very strange manner, very mannered guy. And he says, Pola, you're new, I'm going to teach you. We are glorified caterers. Prop master's card is a license to steal. And our job is to facilitate everybody's needs. And our job is everybody chair right under his butt, whether he likes it or not. On the prop card, there is a candy drawer.
Yes.
On the prop card, there is a cigarette drawer.
Right.
We provide cocaine. We stuff fridges with liquor for our up-aboves. The security of our jobs depend on our catering to the people we work for. All right, so that's where it came from.
100%.
So that was the culture then.
Sure.
Now,
That's in the 80s?
yes,
Yeah.
and before.
I guess I'm old school prop master because I still have that philosophy.
Booze and Coke?
Well, if they need it.
Good for you.
Maybe it's not
admirable.
real. No, I mean, well, nobody's asking me for booze and Coke anymore, or never did actually. I've had actors ask me for booze before, and that's always a problem. And of course, I'd never willingly have given it to them, but I've had.
I did.
Really, I've had an actor once come in when we were at lunch, and I had an assistant who was very green, and he was in the kitchen, and she came in and she was looking for alcohol. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And she says, oh, I see a bottle. And she grabbed it and she got herself pretty liquored up.
Jesus Christ.
And she did a scene. It was great. But then she had to do a scene after that where she wasn't drunk. And they had to, send her home for the day. And it was a huge problem.
It's
so
a
obviously,
liability.
you can't do that.
It's a liability.
I got in trouble. It was like eight or 9 years ago on a movie I was prop mastering because there was a scene where they were smoking weed, or the actor was smoking weed, and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, can I smoke real weed in that?" I was like, I'm gonna give you fake weed.
Yeah.
Whatever you bring, that's on you. And I still got in trouble for it.
Yeah,
you have to
absolutely.
be very careful nowadays. It's a liability.
No, 100%. I mean,
Right.
because when this happened with me, the first person they came to was me. And I'm like, I did not give it to her. She apparently went and took it out of the kitchen, and she also went and got something from the Teamsters as well.
I see.
But nonetheless, it was a very big deal. And, the director wanted to know what my involvement was. And I explained it to him, and he was like, and when he found out it was her, he's like, well, that was just a bad career move for her.
Which he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, have you ever seen the quote from Marlene Dietrich about props? She wrote this book called The ABCs of Filmmaking or something like that. I think we have it posted on the PMG website somewhere, the quote from Marlene Dietrich, and I'm not going to try to recite it because I don't remember it, but it was fantastic because she talks about the property what she does is the ABCs of films, and so like each letter of the alphabet was something else about filmmaking. And when she got to P, she did the Property Master, and she wrote this beautiful soliloquy of what the property master does and what they mean, and about his magical cart and all of the stuff that comes out of it, and that really resonated with me. And again, for me, it's that whole thing of taking care of actors that that falls into for me. I want to be that person who can facilitate whatever the actor needs.
Well,
I feel that takes away from the respect of our position. Though.
absolutely.
Really?
Not whatever actor needs, whatever help the actor to deliver the character on screen. Coke and booze, not necessarily.
Definitely not.
Unless it's being done on screen.
Well, then it's fake.
Obviously, right. Well, when I say that, I mean, I'm not going to go take their laundry to the dry cleaner or anything like that.
Right.
But there is a thin line.
Yes.
And I agree with Mikey that we are perceived as caterers more than as creative entities. And in any new movement, there's got to be a bit of an overreaction just to be heard.
Sure.
So since we're trying to promote ourselves as a creative entities, let's just caution on overreaction right now and move away from janitorial duties.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I agree. And I think that's why I say I will do chairs, but it is not my first priority.
Right.
Okay. They're not going to give me somebody if they're not going to give me somebody. That's
what I've always believed. I was like, because a lot of people try to make that argument. I was like, I don't think I've ever been able to. I mean, I haven't been in the industry as long as you guys have, so you guys might have. I've never been able to sell the producer on giving me an extra person specifically just for chairs.
No,
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, the only time I've ever been given somebody extra is during COVID. When they realized that we had to do.
Oh, yep, that's true.
That's all of a sudden I got an extra person.
Yeah, because you used to have those first couple shows back. You used to have to use those like UV gun.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sakes!
I got the oven from ISS.
The oven. They made oven carts.
Yes,
it's crazy.
It was so ridiculous.
I had one as well.
Yeah.
And then you have to
painful.
spray everything down. I mean, I was doing this thing for Disney. It was a reshoot, or not reshoots, but additional photography for some movie that they were doing. It was their first production back from COVID, and it involved this intricate book, this beautiful book of spells. Mm-hmm. And the COVID person she came over with the spray bottle. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, I got to spray that. I'm like hell.
No.
It's paper, honey.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, yeah. But that was the only time.
Yeah, glad we're out of that.
Yes. Are we out of that though? I mean, what are the protocols coming back? I don't even know.
There's none on the show Jackie's on. Really.
That's good.
Oh, okay.
There's none.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're all vaccinated by now.
Yeah.
It's just common sense. Wash your hands.
Right.
Yeah. What I liked about Glow the most also was I think it was one of the earlier the family environment with every single crew member that was kind of on there, and they all stuck together, and the relationship everybody had down to the actors and everything like that. And I think that I don't mind a show being hard as long as it's not a nightmare to go to every day.
You know what as long as we're on the same page.
Right.
Yeah, the vibe is positive.
The vibe was extremely positive.
And supportive. We're all here to make the best product possible.
Right.
We don't work against each other.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a gift.
It's a gift.
Okay.
It's a very rare gift,
yeah,
unfortunately.
And again, the older you get, the more opportunity you have to pick and choose those projects because, it when you're not on those shows, the alternative is horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
You can't work.
Well, yeah, and you have to because you need a paycheck, and so you have to deal with it. But it's it's demoralizing, and it's just bad for your health. And
absolutely.
And I just pray that everybody can find a great show, and muscle through. I mean, you learn stuff, when shows like that, but mostly what you learn is what you're not willing to put up with.
Exactly, your boundaries.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If they came back to do a movie, would you come out of retirement to do it?
No.
Nothing would bring you back at this point?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good that you know.
You're happy in retirement?
Very.
Yeah.
Very. The first thing that I threw away is an alarm clock.
Really?
Nice.
Yes.
I always said that when I had a retirement party, I was going to do a bonfire and have everybody throw a chair in the fire.
Yeah.
There you go.
Chairs in the fires.
There you go.
Yeah. Are you already working on another book? Is that
Yes.
what's going to Yeah?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. That's awesome.
But also, I stay with the Lincoln Lawyer
Yeah.
because I gave the show to Holiday, who is a new prop master.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they hired her. She did a great job the first season. Now she's in the second season. But,
She's in the third season, isn't she?
well, she's in the third season,
third
but
season.
second for her
Right,
as
right,
a
right.
prop master.
Right.
And I stay very involved with that.
Yeah.
So I'm, in a sense,
Right.
I don't get paid, but I'm working.
That's good.
Yeah, but helping
Yeah, a
out with
little
like
creative.
mentorship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holiday's fantastic.
Yeah, she's wonderful, and I'm so grateful. It's just such a great feeling to be able to give your craft to somebody else who can pick
absolutely.
it up and run with it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Beautiful.
I'm glad what is it? Everybody go out and check out The Other Side of the Moon.
thank you. Thank you.
I definitely want to say that.
Oh, what is that?
It's my book.
Okay. Oh, right. The one you just, but the
Yes.
one you're working on, is that also an industry, or is it an industry related book?
No, but it's about the two artists and in our society and their fate.
Yeah.
So it's a novel.
It's a novel.
Beautiful.
This one is a novel as well.
Okay.
It's not a memoir. It's a novel.
Right. Nice.
Thank you.
I will definitely. So when do you have a working title?
No, not
Okay.
yet. I do, but
Not for public
not
consumption.
not yet.
Yeah, and how are you on the audiobook side of the other one?
I should do it.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, I was thinking about it today. I'm just so, I worked on this book for so long and I read it so many times.
So another read through.
Another read through. It's like, oh, but I should do it.
You should do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'll record it for free here if you
Oh,
want.
you're so
yeah.
sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I will be happy to pay.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Absolutely. Wow. That was fun.
It was great fun.
Yes.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
You can edit it down
There's
as much as
nothing
you
to
want.
edit.
It's a long listen.
Yeah, and we're happy to have you as part of the PMG now,
Yeah.
as a new
Absolutely.
member, new honorary member
Absolutely.
of the PMG.
Thank you. I'm happy to contribute in any way I can.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be working with Chris in the education committee. It
Yes,
seems like
we
coming
need
up
it.
with
let's
thing.
do
We
it.
need it. We need help for sure. We need workers.
Absolutely. I'm available.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right, we'll close out, I guess. You got
Yes.
anything else to say, Chris?
I think I'm done. I do want to say one last thing.
Sure.
And I know I'm dating us again, Mikey. And
That's fine.
But I just want to say again, here we are on January 23rd.
Oh, really dating us.
Yes, we're really
Literally.
dating us.
And on today,
And on
Greg
today,
Bilson's
at-
episode came out today.
Yes,
so-
at 2:12.
Yeah.
No, of 2024 that, we are still not back from the strike.
Right.
And there are a lot of people out there that are hurting very badly. I mean, I talk to people every day, and I desperately want to give people hope. I believe that the industry is going to come back, and it's going to come back in gangbusters, but I don't know to what extent, and doesn't seem like anybody really knows. So I just want to acknowledge that I know everybody's struggling out there, and we just all have to try to help each other through it and know that it's going to get better, and that work is going to come back. But it sure would be nice if the people that were pulling the strings here would get their act together and get this thing going. Okay, because there seems to be a lot of factors at play here, and I don't know. There's more that I love to say. I would love to do an episode about this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about maybe trying to get somebody from 44 to come on and talk about it or whatever, because people just need a little bit of support, from the industry. We've suffered a lot with very little to show for it on our side, and it continues. And I just want to say, everybody, hang in there, please, okay? And reach out to your loved ones and your friends, and we're all going to get through it.
And we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
all
looking.
ready.
We're exploring alternatives too, which I'm not going to leave the industry or anything like that. But we're looking for our side hustle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're taking it way more seriously. Like I think everybody is a little bit now. They're like, what's a side hustle that can at least get me some money if this doesn't keeps falling through?
Yeah, no, and that's a legitimate thing. But at the same time, as Pola would tell you as well, I mean, when you've been doing this your whole life, and when you do it to the level in which you're supposed to do it, there is no room for a side hustle.
No, there is absolutely. I mean,
You know what I mean? Your side hustle is eating and sleeping.
No,
Exactly,
We thought about it
surviving.
6 months ago too, and we're like, oh, what else would I do? I was like, there's nothing else that would make me happy, and I think that's the problem. I was like,
Right.
I know jobs I can make more money and stuff. it won't.
Yeah,
They
unless you
won't
could.
stimulate my ADD
Right.
brain, and they won't make me as happy as this one is.
Right,
Like,
or unless you could write a book, you know.
Well,
and
trust
you-
me, you're not going to make that much money writing a book.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's what mailbox money is what we need, but you
Yeah.
know, that's
Yeah.
hard to get. But you know,
All right.
all right. Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah, of
Thank you,
course.
Pola.
Yeah, thank you, Pola.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah, and thank you to everybody out there who's turning in for another episode of Prop Talk, which is the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, brought to you by real working and retired prop masters. If this is your first time listening, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment wherever you're hearing this. It helps us in the algorithms and stuff like that, so do it. If you'd like to know more information about the Property Masters Guild or have any questions for us here at Prop Talk, be sure to go to propertymastersguild.org, and you can email there. We're also on Instagram @_the PMG, and all other socials. Just look up Property Masters Guild. And that's it until next time.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I have a question. So